Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Thursday morning for some of us, and some it's a midday, some it's an afternoon. Welcome to the November installment of the SharpeSoft customer webinar. We thank you, everyone, for joining us. A few items at the beginning here. After this webinar, each registrant will also receive a copy and a recording of this webinar, so you will be able to share that internally with anybody that maybe missed it. Also, we will be sending out a survey after this webinar. We encourage you guys to please let us know feedback. Let us know if there's any topics that you guys would like to discuss in future webinars. This is something we will be doing monthly. With the holiday schedule, it's a little bit wonky in terms of finding the best dates, so we thank you for the short turnaround on this one. Once we get to the start of the year, we'll be probably consistently doing these the final Thursday of each month, just so you guys can know, but just have our holiday schedule to work around with here. So in today's webinar, a couple highlights that I want to show you. Our solutions team would love to receive referrals from you guys. So if you have your phones or anything, you can actually scan this QR code and it will bring up our customer referral form. Anybody that you bring to us that we're not engaged with, that we're able to get aboard as a customer, we'd love to give you $750. Certainly, I'm sure could help out any of you guys with your Christmas shopping coming up. So feel free to scan this code here. I will also bring it up at the end of the webinar, so you can scan it there as well. But that should bring you right to a form where we just need their name, contact information, company, and then one of our solutions members will reach out to them and just get engaged with them and see if they're interested in setting up a demonstration. For today's topic and today's webinar, we're going to be going through the following topics. We're going to be going through calculate the days or hours it will take to haul a specific item and how many pieces of equipment will be necessary. So getting into our haul calculator. We'll learn helpful calculating tips when hauling equipment or aggregate material. Further, your intricacy and control of your bid items with bid item statuses. So we're going to be digging into that a little bit. And then finally, the final topic for today's webinar is the final step before printing your proposal is the rounding sheet. How does yours look? So we're not going to do a deep dive into the rounding sheet, but just to kind of introduce that topic. And then we will do a deeper dive into the rounding sheet in a future webinar. Before I turn the reins over to my colleague, Jonathan, who's going to walk through these areas, a couple items to note. If you have any questions, the chat for this webinar is turned off. However, we do want you guys to be able to ask any questions. So you can do that via the Q&A button within the Teams application. If you go there, you can type in a question. The team members on our end will be able to see it. And if we're able to, we'll try to get to your question. So you can do that at any point in the webinar, and we'll try to address your questions that you might put in there. Before a couple more things to cover, our solutions team would love to let you know about our crazy Black Friday sale we have going for on-premise licenses. So if you were part of last webinar, you saw that we had a 30% discount. We've gone ahead and raised the stakes on that to 40% off any on-premise additional licenses in this season. That starts next Friday, Black Friday. However, wink, wink, I'm pretty sure if you guys want to order this now, I'm pretty sure Simeon and our solutions team would honor it now. So if you guys want any additional licenses, you can go ahead and contact our solutions team. That promotion will be running the 25th through December 28th. And lastly, before I turn it over to my colleague, Jonathan, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone here from the team at SharpeSoft wishes everyone a very, very happy Thanksgiving. So if we don't get a chance to talk to any of y'all between now and Thanksgiving, we wish you and your family the merriest of Thanksgivings and hope you enjoy your time together. So Jonathan, I will go ahead and turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our SharpeSoft webinar. We are going to be covering a few niche topics today, talking about hauling and the way that you can calculate that, whether you're hauling pieces of equipment with your low bed truck or whether you're hauling, dirt away, native away from the project itself, and kind of how to calculate that inside the bid. So if you were along for the ride, our last webinar, you'll notice that I'm using sort of the same job. We have our mobilization job, and then we have our 12-inch sewer pipe that we created and imported. But today we're mostly going to be focusing on the mobilization aspect of moving our equipment in, as well as moving out, let's say native, from what we've excavated. Okay, so we're just going to double click in here inside mobilization, and then we've already added the low bed truck to this bid item. So now we just need to figure out how many trips it's going to take for our truck and the driver to make it here and back with our equipment. So the way that you're going to do that is once you've clicked and drag it in, you can navigate to your equipment, find my haul truck, click and drag it in. Is now we're going to go up to calculations, and then we can go to equipment hauling calculation. Okay. All right, now in here, you can actually do, assign a different piece of equipment if you would want to, or you could look and find a piece of equipment. The equipment quantity is going to be how many pieces of the equipment that's in this box are we going to be using. The equipment capacity is how many pieces of equipment for this specific truck, but it also means like how many cubic yards would your dump truck be able to haul. So we'll kind of cover that a little bit later. But right now we're just talking about the equipment hauling. So let's say, for instance, this low bed truck would be able to haul 2 pieces of equipment. And then the amount of total to haul is how many pieces of equipment are we bringing to this job site. Okay, so let's say for whatever reason, it's like 8 pieces of equipment. We got a couple excavators, maybe a dozer, things like that we are going to be bringing in this instance. All right, then we have to apply what the distance of the haul is in one direction. So if you're hauling across town, obviously it'll be a little bit more. Maybe we'll just say it's like 15 miles in one direction. And then we can apply its speed. So what is the speed when it's loaded? Maybe it only goes 45 miles an hour when it's loaded, and maybe it goes 55 when it's empty. So all of these numbers that I'm changing, you can see it actually starts adjusting this information down here at the bottom. Okay. How long does it take to load this low bed truck up with the piece of equipment, or with the 2 pieces in this instance? Maybe we'll say it takes 15 minutes to actually load it, and maybe it takes 15 minutes to unload it. Okay. So as we're making these changes, you can see that all these numbers are being affected by the information that we're putting in up here. And then let's say that we're going to give them 5 minutes for traffic, right? Now, if there's any additional time, you could put in here and do whatever you want. But the way that this is going to work out is if this one piece of equipment can actually haul 2 pieces of equipment, it's only going to take us 4 hours or 4.76 hours to move all of our equipment from point A to point B. So if that were the case, you can come down here and look and see what your daily unit costs are, your total cost, what the actual distance in miles are going to be, how long the round trips are going to be. So it's hours, minutes, and seconds. And that's all just based on the information that you provided, including like waste time and things like that. But once you're done with it and once you're ready, you can actually set the hours for the entire crew. Because notice I did bring in a truck driver with it. So if we only have one of those pieces of equipment, then we can say that I want to set it for the entire crew and then hit OK. And what that does is that sets us up in the production panel to make sure that our truck driver actually matches the haul for the low bed truck, because I don't need this truck driver for more time. Now, if I did, for whatever reason, if I needed him, let's just say we'll call it an even 5 hours, I can always go in and change that directly. And if for whatever reason you need to actually adjust the information in the hauling calculator, you can just double click that little icon right there and it'll bring it up for you. So let's say maybe we can only carry one, right? Maybe we can only carry one piece of equipment. You adjust it, but now it doubles the amount of time because we went from being able to haul 2 to being able to haul 1. So that's just some use case. You can change all of this information and really make it whatever you want. And if you don't want to set it for the entire crew time, you don't have to have that selected. You could just hit OK, and that's going to only change the information for the low bed truck. If you have the option selected to change for the entire crew, it would update this information in the production panel up here at the top to adjust it for the crew. So if we do that, you can see it changed the production rate up here at the top to help us match what we're looking for down there. All right, and with that, we're going to segue directly into our actual hauling calculator for our native, and it kind of works the same way. So instead of the mobilization, we'll be kind of turning our attention to the drainage right here. So I've went ahead and already applied our dump truck, which can hold 15 yards. And then we have our truck driver here. So let's say that we're taking out native and we have like 1,500 cubic yards of that, native that we need to off haul, right? We just do the same exact thing. So we're going to left click the dump truck itself, and then we can go up to calculations and then go to equipment hauling calculation. All right. So this dump truck actually already has some information in here. But what we can do is actually make it more specific to what we want. So equipment quantity right now, we only have one dump truck. We can change that to 2 if we need to, or 3 or 4 or 8. You can change that to whatever you want, and it's going to adjust this quantity down here. So right now we'll just leave it at 1. And the equipment capacity is going to be how many, yards or cubic yards is this going to be able to haul off? Well, I'll just say it hauls about 15. And then instead of the 3,500, let's just say it's 1,500 cubic yards that we will be hauling off. All right. And then we just set up the same kind of information. What's the distance and haul? I'll just say it's 10 miles. Average loaded speed is probably going to be 45, could be 35. And then whatever the speed is empty, you just be able to fill out all of this information. The load time is going to be a little bit less, most likely, or it could be a little bit more. So we'll just leave it at 15 minutes. But the unload time is probably going to be a lot quicker for the dump truck than it would be for a piece of equipment. So we'll say maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes for the unload time. And then we'll give them, maybe a little bit of waste time as well. So if we were to use only one dump truck that can only haul 15 cubic yards, and we need to haul off 1,500 cubic yards of that native, it'll take us 10 days to get this done, or about 82 hours. Well, that's not going to be realistic for us. We want to make sure that we can get this done, in a realistic time frame. So maybe we're going to need more of these dump trucks. So that's when we come in here and we change this. So we'll say, I don't know, maybe 4 dump trucks. And that's going to divide this time by 4. So now we have 4 of them. It cuts the time in half. It goes from 80 hours. Now we have 20 hours. It's going to take us about 2 days to get this done. That's a little, it's a little easier for me to swallow than 80 hours of having to do one dump truck over and over and over. But sometimes maybe that's just what you have to do. All right. And then the same concept applies is you can hit this set hours for the entire crew, and it's going to apply it to your production rate panel up here. Or if you want to just do specifically this dump truck, you can unclick that and hit OK. And that's going to say that we need 4 dump trucks for 2.5 days. And then we know that we are also going to need 4 truck drivers. And then maybe we want to keep them on the job for 3 days rather than just the 2.5 of the drive time. All right. And that pretty much sets up, the hauling calculator for how much you would be moving as far as the native goes. So that's 2 different ways that you can actually use the same hauling calculation function, for 2 different areas. You have one for hauling equipment, and you can have one for hauling native, or you can even use it for hauling aggregate. It would work the exact same way. You would just have to put, what the different capacity is or how much you're needing to haul. You would need to do the calculation from tons to cubic yards, but the idea is the same. Alrighty. Then we're going to be switching gears a little bit here. I'll take us, give me a second to kind of catch my breath here, but we're going to be swapping gears a little bit and moving to how to sort of have a little more control over your bid items itself in here. So what we'll do with that is we'll set up a bid item status. There's a lot of different options that you have here to sort of give indicators to either other estimators or maybe on your proposal, just depending on what you want to do. So in your bid item window here, we're very top level. So we're looking at the entirety of the job. We have two groups. You have group functions, and then you have bid item functions independently, and I can kind of show you those. So if I wanted to flag this mobilization and with a note of some sort, I would just need to right click it. And then you have a bunch of different options here. So you can toggle what if status. What that's going to do is that allows you to bid an item and kind of see what it would look like if you didn't have it on the job. So if I say, what if I didn't have this mobilization on the job, you'll notice that it will take that money out of your total. So if I go toggle what if status, now it's going to be, was it $1,600 less than what it was. So you can use this, sort of when you're working with alternates or, just if you needed to bid a specific item and you wanted maybe someone to look at it and see if that's what they were talking about, you could add that what if, and then you could also undo it. So now it's back. So it's a super easy way to kind of have that, flexibility of if you wanted to bid the mobilization and see how much it would cost you, but maybe not necessarily put it on your proposal, you could toggle the what if status. And you could do that for whole groups as well. So if you had a group of items that you wanted to, you could also right click the group level and then toggle what if status. But in this specific scenario, I only have one item underneath that, so that's why it does both. Okay. Transversely, you could also right click in here and then toggle completed status, which means you're done with that bid item, right? So you can actually say, hey, I'm done with that bid item. It's very useful for people that have multiple estimators that are using the system, in the same time or possibly even in the same job at the same time. You could just toggle completed status and they would be able to see that this bid item specifically is completed. All right. Some more flexibility and things that you have is also using item memos. So we could also, untoggle that, and then we could set a memo. So right here, we can actually make this memo show up on the proposal if you wanted to. But, for whatever reason, if you wanted to type something like needs trucking pricing or something to that effect, you could add that, hit OK, and then now you'll see that it has a little note up next to it. So if you're working with another estimator, or maybe you're not entirely sure or haven't gotten your trucking pricing yet, you can always flag it with a little note and you can hover over it and you'll see that it shows that it needs trucking pricing. I mean, you could add anything here. I mean, you could copy and paste information. If you have stuff about like, start and stop stations for your 12-inch sewer pipe or anything like that, just any sort of note that you would need to necessarily add to your bid items or to the proposal itself, you could put in those notes. And we also have something that we call our bid item statuses. Right? So a bid item status is the ability to flag a bid item with whatever little flag that you would need. So for instance, one that I have set up right now is needs material pricing. So if I'm bidding this job and I haven't really gotten my pricing from my vendor yet, I'm just kind of going with older pricing or maybe one from the last bid, I could say that I wanted to flag this specific bid item as needs material pricing. And you can do a bunch of different ones in here. So that's going to be in our defaults. And in job statuses, you could do job statuses, you could do bid item status. Job status is going to be more related to your job window, but your bid item status is going to be specifically these flags. Now, I only have one in here, but we could create another. And then you have, a myriad of options for the colors and things like that. So you could put whatever you wanted in here. So we could say, needs pipe pricing instead of just a flat material, or needs attention, right? Needs attention before proposal. And then maybe we can make that like a red flag. right? We need someone to check this bid item before we're ready to send it out. All right. So I'm just going to refresh the page, close it, reopen it, and then I should be able to right click and then go to bid item status and see that we have this here as well. So we can show that this specific bid item needs attention before the proposal. Okay. So with that, I'm just giving you a bunch of different options of just little right-click options in here that you can, I would recommend to go and kind of play around with that if you wanted to, maybe start using the toggle completed status, or maybe you want to toggle what if. And another super nifty thing that you can do with these is if, let's say I'm done, I have a bunch of different things under general conditions, and I just don't want to see them anymore, because sometimes our bids are going to be 100, maybe more bid items long. Something that you can do, and it's user specific, is you can go to options and actually hide them from your bid, sort of. So it just cleans up. It's still there, but you're hiding them from view, so it just kind of cleans it up. So once you're done, maybe you don't want to think about it anymore. You just want to make sure that you're focusing on the ones that you need. That would be one way that you could do that, is you could set it either what if, or you could toggle completed, and then you could just go up to your options and hide those, or unhide them, and then now they're back. They're still going to show up on your proposal, but in the bid item window, it will, it'll hide that view from you. All right. Well, with that being said, we've already got our bid items kind of bid and completed. The next step that we would be working on today in our webinar is going to be looking at the rounding sheet. Now, our rounding sheet is pretty big. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I have unspread pro rates apparently in this job, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on with the rounding sheet. So I'm just going to do a very, very high level kind of walkthrough of the basics of how to use the rounding sheet. And then we will be covering more of the rounding sheet in a different webinar. But for this instance, I kind of want to just show you an overall high level, kind of how to use this. All right, so the first thing that you want to think about is, what is the rounding sheet actually used for? So our rounding sheet is going to be used to round the bid unit prices to whatever you have your rounding rules set to. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if we go to our defaults up here at the top and you go to company configurations, there is a section for your specific rounding rules. Now, there's a bunch of different options, but really what this is going to be is, the default rule is we're going to be rounding the unit price to the nearest what. What do you want it to be round to? Do you not want to round at all? Do you want to round to the nearest dollar? Do you want to round to the nearest 10? I mean, all of that is completely up to you. And then you can even set up conditional rules, such as if the bid quantity is, or the, item quantity is more than X and to Y, then you can do this. Or if the unit price or the total price, I mean, you have a bunch of options in what you would like to do. So you have complete flexibility of how you want to round, but I'm just going to round it to the nearest dollar to kind of give you an idea of what we would be looking at here. So with that, I just kind of wanted to show you, this is going to be rounded to 1642 because it has an 8 after the decimal, and this is going to be 41 even because it has a 5 after the decimal. So just keep in mind that when you're doing these rounding and you're rounding it to the nearest dollar, that with higher quantities and lower the actual unit prices, it could get a little tricky with your numbers. So I just wanted to sort of show you and walk through that. So the first thing that you can do is, now that we have our rounding rules set up, is going to hit this fourth from the right icon. It's the auto round button. So it's just going to auto round all of your bid items based on the information that we provided in the rounding rules section. Okay, so I just click it, and then it's going to say, do you want to automatically round it based on your preferences? We say yes. So now, as I said, that takes it to the 1642 here, as you can see right there, and then this is going to be 41. And there's a ton of information down here if you're a number cruncher. I'm sure most of you are. So you'll be able to see what your total bid price is, and you'll be able to see what your total rounded price is. And notice that we're actually above our bid price by about $1,600, just purely based on our rounding. Okay, so if you wanted it to be the same as your bid price and you don't actually care about rounding that much, there's another function that you can do, and that's just called resetting the rounding sheet. Or if you do a bunch of the rounding and the numbers just don't look quite right to you and you want to do something else, to reset it, we just go to Actions, and then you go to Reset Rounding Sheet. Okay. Now it's going to ask, are you sure that you want to reset it? And you have the ability to lock items so that your rounding or unrounding and things like that don't get affected. But this time I don't have any locked items, so I'm going to say yes, I want to reset. And what that does is it just quite literally copies and pastes this middle section into our rounded bid price section so that it makes our rounded recap off by 0, because these numbers down here are the same, your bid and your rounded. All right. And then a few other things that you can actually do is, I'm not sure if you know, but you can actually hand type in here sometimes. So let's say I wanted this to be 1700 for whatever reason. If I wanted to, you could type in, go in here and change. And you can type in 1700 flat if that's what you wanted for your mobilization. And you could also change this rounded bid price to be, let's say, 42, if that's what you wanted. You can change that to 42 just by hand typing in there. And then it spits out, whatever it is, 42 times your quantity, right? And then you would be ready to run your proposal. You would just go up to your report tree, run your proposal, hit start. Okay. Now what I could do is this is where you would actually add those item memos if we had some in there, or group memos. So what we'll do is actually, I want to add one, and I'll show you kind of what it looks like on the proposal. So let me go back to our bid items and then make sure that this mobilization actually does have something. This is where the memo will show. All right. And then I'll just show you on the proposal where the memo actually comes up. So we're just going to go back to our report tree using this icon right here, or you can go to your report options and then click. Some people like doing that. I think it's easier to just click the icon, go to proposal, hit start. And then in here, I already have that I want to print item memos, but you could also do, print group memos. You could also change, based on bid packages, if you have alternates and so forth. But I'm just going to hit OK and then spit out a proposal. And then this is where it would look right here. So this is where the memo would show underneath the bid item. All right. So our grand total would be $149,750 for both of these items. Okay, and that pretty much sums it up. That was what we wanted to cover in our November webinar. I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the niche, maybe not so often used functionality in our program. None of this is really just set in stone exactly what you do if you're doing kind of high level information. But if you're the client that likes to drive, the routes and stuff, this will really definitely help you. You'll be able to put in, the specific information, the speed, you'll know the speed limit in the area, and you can set up all that information, track the trucking through your mobilization, as well as being able to track the trucking of your aggregates and things of that sort, while also using all the other functions inside here if you're working with other estimators, or maybe just as a reminder for yourself that things are completed, or just the ability to kind of turn bid items on and off, as it were, with our bid item what if status. So that's something that you can think about. But that sums up our topics of our November webinar.
Thank you, Jonathan. While I'm just kind of bringing up a couple things that you guys have already kind of heard, I just want to encourage you guys, if you've had any questions on the content that you saw here today, we can still happy to address that in our Q&A section. Also, if while you're sitting here, if you think of any topics that you would like to see in future webinars, we can encourage you to also put that in the Q&A chat for this webinar. Also, keep in mind, please keep an eye open for the survey that we'll be sending out after this webinar in the next couple days. There's also a section on there where we encourage you guys to please give us some ideas for future webinars and topics. So please, we encourage you to do that as well. Before we set you loose, just want to remind you on the screen you see in front of you here, if you want to scan that QR code, that will bring you to our customer referral form. So you can fill that out. We'd love to be able to give you $750, maybe to help recover after the holiday shopping season. Also remember our solutions team, if you have any on-premise additional license needs, now is the time to get them. We have our Black Friday 40% off sale. You can send all emails to solutions@sharpesoft.com and they can get an order together for you for that as well. So again, I haven't seen any questions or any feedback in the Q&A. So our last thing will be again to send you off and wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. We hope you enjoy a blessed time together with family, and please let us know, anyone here at Sharp, if there's anything we can be doing to serve you guys better. We thank you, we value your business partnership, and wish each of you the best Thanksgiving. Thanks everyone, and have an amazing rest of your week, and have an amazing holiday week next week. Thank you.